Danny Phegan released an album in 2017 called From Where I Stand, and he has a new single out called The Halfway Hotel. But some of you may know him from The Voice. I'm going to start that again. Danny, did you mean to turn your camera off? Danny Phegan released an album in 2017 called From Where I Stand, and he has a new single called The Halfway Hotel. Some of you may be new to Danny's music because you've seen him on a little television show called The Voice recently, and if that's the case, welcome to Danny's music, and I'm going to say welcome to Danny himself. Hello.
Sophie, how you going?
I'm very well, thank you. I've been having a lovely time listening to that album as well as to the new single, but I wanted to ask first about the new single, The Halfway Hotel, because I understand it was named after your bar.
Yeah, well, the Halfway Hotel became the title track of the single, but my bar here is actually called the Half Star Hotel because it was built in 1884. So I often joke I'm going to put a split system aircon in next summer and bump it up to a full star.
Well, of course, the quality of the drink served may take you to a 2, 3, or 4 star. Who knows?
Roof's about to fall in, so it could be 5-star before you know it.
So how did your bar come to inspire a whole song?
Well, it was a bit of a long hiatus, like the 2 years with COVID and all the rest of it. And the album went pretty well. It went to number one on the ARIA charts. And I've been singing for nearly 30 years now. And it was kind of The Voice that got me re-energized about it all. And a mate wanted to write a song with me. So he came out, and I thank him for making me sit down. I don't get a chance to sort of get in that right headspace that often to write songs. We're on a farm here, and I've got a pub down the road I've had for 25 years. And I was in business for a long time as well as farming, and Caroline and I have 6 kids. So there's plenty going on. So it's very hard to sit down and actually get into the right headspace. So Darren, my mate, came out and he said, well, let's just write a song about your bar. And I was kind of a little bit edgy because I wanted to get back to work. And I said, yeah, right, I know, worries. And I just got to thinking, he's quite religious and I'm not at all. I went through the system and came out the other side, but it sort of doesn't matter. We're still really good mates. And he said, everyone gets along at your bar, everyone leaves their weapons at the door, and it doesn't matter if you're poor or rich or religious or not religious. You can have healthy debates, which we often do at 2 or 3 in the morning. And I started just to take off writing this song, and I left Darren behind. He said, I'm just going to leave you alone. You've got a thing going here. And it's the first time in my life that writing a song came really easy. It just 10 minutes, and normally I can have ideas for years.
Right. Does the fact that people all get along at your bar and leave weapons at the door mean you're the sort of person who actually just accepts people as they are? So as people come to you, everyone's equal, regardless of background, talents, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, look, I'd like to think so. I'm probably as politically incorrect as any bloke you'll meet. I never say anything with any malice or anything like that, and I think people understand that. So we all get on out here. You really have a blue.
Yeah. Now, you obviously recorded the song before your shoulder ended up in a sling, because people will be able to see that you do, in fact, have it strapped up. Could you tell us how it came to be that way, that poor shoulder?
Oh, look, I've just turned 46. I think it was my 46,000 kilometre grease and oil change, really. I've had a couple of tears and things going on for years, and I used to do a little bit of boxing when I was in my teens. My uncle was an Australian professional champion, Johnny Gorkham, and that doesn't mean I can fight, by the way. I'm just hijacking his name to embellish my own story. But I got back into boxing about 5 years ago, and I wanted to do an 8-week camp and a fight last October. And I was on shot there, and I went in to get another needle just to numb the pain of the tear that was getting bigger. And they just wouldn't do it. They said, no, you need to get checked out. So one thing led to another, and I ended up getting cut open a fortnight ago, and they found a lot more going on in there than what I was sort of booked in to do. They chiseled bone and did all sorts of things and reattached ligaments. So I was going okay until a bloody cow bowled me over in the yards last week. So I think we're back to square one now, but I've got to let it heal first before they look at it again. So I kind of need to be up in Queensland late August touring with the band. So whatever they do, they just need to fix it quick, really.
Well, because I would imagine for you, playing guitar is completely intrinsic to performing. Like you probably don't want to just sing. You would like to have that guitar when you sing.
Yeah, totally. Look, I'll fall back to just being a singer if I have to. But yeah, you're dead right. I was only talking to a mate today, and they said, "Well, just grab the microphone and sing." But I don't know. I've never really done that, and I don't have a huge role on guitar these days. We've got some cracker music, but I don't know. It's just you feel a bit naked without strumming a guitar in front of you.
I completely understand. Sorry, what did you say?
I play with, I sort of play acoustic most of the time now, and I actually built it. I built it out of timbers out of my 3 favourite pubs and all the travelling that I do. So, mate, now, I've been touring with it for years, so I'd like to be able to swing it around if I can.
So how did you come across those timbers to make a guitar out of them? Did you just like pull a paling out of a wall of a pub?
Yeah, well, I own the Gerondery Hotel. I bought that when I was 20, so I knocked off a bit of timber down there, and the Mitta Hotel, we get to a fair bit up the Mitta Valley, Mitta. Mm. So the beer garden, and my other favourite pub was the Kinross Hotel, where a lot of would have seen musos play over the years and maybe perform themselves. So I didn't get permission for that one, so I had to sneak into the men's toilets because there was no security cameras in there, rip the floorboard up. So bit of the back lining.
Well, that guitar is obviously completely unique and completely unique to you, but what a great story, and I'm sure the different woods give it a sound that you like.
And it's been around now too, and I've a mate and I have been open miners for 20 years, so we get up to Lightning Ridge 2 or 3 times a year. So for fret markers, I put opals in the neck, and we used to go catching brumbies a bit younger, man. Some mates from the mountains. I got a bit of snow gum up there's in the back. Every little bit of timber tells a story. So, and the beauty is it plays really nicely too, which was a bit of a fluke from the first time. So, yeah, it's I love it. Yeah, I wouldn't feel right without sort of having it when I'm performing. Hopefully, this thing comes good real quick, and I'll stay away from cat.
So you were a buck runner then, if you went after brumbies?
We used to call us buck runners. When you caught your first brumby, I used to make knives when I had more time. So I've still got all the gear and everything out there. So whoever we took, whenever they caught their first brumby, we'd knock them up a belt buckle with a buck runner on it and put their name on the top. So it's funny you should say that. You know a bit about the code.
I do. And there's also, I don't know if you've seen it, but there is an ABC documentary, like a 20-minute thing, black and white from several decades ago called Buck Runners on YouTube. If anyone hasn't seen it, it is fascinating. And partly what interested me with the clothes they wore, because there are these many like these V-neck jumpers and these shirts buttoned and nice watches and all sorts of things. I thought, well, that's very formal clothing for what they were doing.
We're actually soon have a copy of that because my mate who I go brumby running with or buck running, one of the Hodgkin boys, his father Tom is in that movie, and a very, very young. And Ken died, I think it was last year, but I bush raced against Ken up until a couple of years ago, and I've been racing against his son Chris Conley in recent years as well, the Mountain Cattlemen's each year. So yeah, there's a nice connection in that bit of footage that you're talking about.
Yeah, right. So hearing these stories of your background actually gives me a better understanding of the richness I actually heard on your album, which is From Where I Stand, because there are so many different stories on that, and different aspects on life, lots of great detail about various things in your life, and I think some stories you've written about other people. And a lot of the songs on the album actually really celebrate life as well. So it seems to me that you're someone who really throws yourself into opportunities that come your way, and you do not take anything for granted.
Totally. Look, I've lost a lot of mates and family already, and I just love new adventures and tackling new things because, what's the old saying? You've got to live this life like it's your last day, and one day you're going to be right. So, yeah, I don't know. It's like when The Voice sent me an email and invited me to audition for The Voice. I initially knocked them back. I said, nah. I haven't got a voice alone that'll turn chairs around. It's a lot of my backstory, and I've always said that I'm very fortunate that I live a lifestyle a lot of country artists can only sing about, and I don't take. I'm lucky I'm on a farm and I can ride horses and all those sort of things. And I thought I'm not going to turn any chairs just based on my voice alone. I'm only setting myself up to fail, and so I knocked her back. And then she rang the next day, and overnight I'd said to my wife, "Why wouldn't I have a crack? Who cares if I don't care?" I'd be so precious about yourself. I reckon it's going to be great fun. And it was. It's one of the most positive things I've ever done.
And you turned 3 chairs, in fact.
Yeah, I turned 3 chairs, and maybe I would have turned 4, because although I was on very early in the series, I actually auditioned on the last afternoon, and Guy only had 1 spot left.
Right.
So when he turned around, he said, "Danny, I would have turned 2, but I've only got 1 spot left, and we've still got a few hours to go." So, but because I didn't make it very deep into the series, obviously they had to air me early, and I thought good to me actually. They put me on the first night, and that gave me a couple of weeks exposure, and I think I got crowbarred out of the joint when those 2 young fellas beat me up, Freddie and Lane. Okay, they did a great job.
I'm wondering if your experience as a boxer actually prepared you to step into the ring, so to speak, on a show like that, because it's not just like stepping on a stage. There are cameras. It's a whole different rhythm to having your own show. So I'm wondering if that, like, being used to working with adrenaline and really gearing yourself up helped.
It's funny you should say adrenaline and mention it as a chemical, because adrenaline is the name of our boxing gym. But no, look, don't fall under any illusion that I can fight. I'm just a little bit fitter and I can lose for a lot longer. So much of a
but you've got some experience in boxing. There you go, more than other contestants would have had.
Yeah, I had some experience there, but I don't know. I think I approached that show a lot differently to a lot of people. I'm 46, and I've had a lot of life experiences, and I didn't expect anything, or I didn't expect anything from the show. I didn't particularly want anything, and I don't want to make that sound like I took that opportunity for granted, but I was just loving every day that I was there. I was meeting different people. I got to know all the production crew, who are amazing. Is a genuinely warm environment. They want the best for you, which is the other reason I did the show, because I've got 6 kids and I wouldn't like to embarrass them on the playground. That show doesn't have a B-roll. It doesn't make a flog out of its failures.
Yeah.
You go screening processes just to be able to audition, and then you're lucky if you get on the telly. You're luckier still if you turn some chairs, and they look after you. They nurture you the whole way through. They want you to do well. So I always felt protected the whole way through. I'm glad they've got hours and hours of footage on, like conversations and things for months. So it's probably 6 months leading up to going to Sydney.
Right.
And you don't always represent yourself in the best possible light. Like, accidentally you can slip up and say things, and they could, if they wanted to, edit you quite badly, I'd imagine, but they don't. They look after everybody, and it's a good show. I feel like I'm talking a fair bit, Sophie. Shut me down if I am. But
we're here for you to talk, Danny. It's not for me to talk.
I reckon I was vaccinated with a gramophone needle. But I was just going to make the point, like, at one of the times they interviewed me backstage before I sang my second song, and I was struggling with that second song a little bit. I know it's a really famous song, that Ed Sheeran song, Castle on the Hill. And I was struggling with the lyrics to commit them to memory, and they videotaped me, and they said, "Well, what are you going to do if you stuff this song up? How are you going to feel?" And I was nervous. I wasn't playing it cool, but I just thought about it, and I said, "Oh, look, you know what? We're not curing cancer or fighting wars here. We're only singing songs." I said, "It'll be all right, And then they said to me, "Well, what does this voice journey mean to you?" And I said, "Oh, look, it's great." I said, "But probably not enough, to be honest." And they went, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I'm 46. I was 45 at the time." I said, "I'm a 45-year-old man. I've had a great life so far, and I just can't help but feel I've pinched some kid's spot that, I just feel like I've, pinched someone's spot that could probably take this further than I'm capable of taking it." And then I said, "But, I've earned my stripes too, and I've done a long apprenticeship, so I turned the chairs, so maybe I deserve to be here too. I don't know, but I don't know. I always felt like I didn't quite deserve to be there, to be honest."
Well, having seen that audition, you did do it on your voice alone. And I know the song's called The Voice, and that was no pun intended, but it was your voice. And so if it has to be, just to go back to an earlier subject of conversation, if it has to be that you can't play guitar in August, then I think, the voice will do the job.
Why that you're
So one of the songs on your album is, and you mentioned luck, and the fortunate things in your life. And one of the songs is the song Better to Be Lucky, which has the chorus, "I was born under a 4-leaf clover." So I'm guessing for you that is autobiographical.
Oh, I can't believe it. Like, when I put that album out, I went straight to the right people. I used the people in the game. I had to use the right musos and the right production people, distributors, promoters, because I figured at 41, I think I was, I really felt old. And I thought, I can't afford to muck around. If I'm going to put an album out, I need to do this properly, you know, and have a crack. And, you know, now I'm 46 and I feel younger than what I did when I was 41. But when I wrote that song, I thought, I'm 41, my beard's gone white, I'm looking hair, and I thought, God, I'm not the bloody best looking rooster to be doing this and be on the front of an album cover. But I thought, you know what, I might not be the best looking, but there'd be few people around that are as lucky as me. I married my high school sweetheart. We got 6 kids. We bought our own farm. We grabbed life by the neck, and that's where that song came from.
Yeah, it's a great song. Another song I'm wondering about whether or not it's autobiographical is the 3 parts Drunk 4 a.m. After Hours Domestic Terminal Blues.
That's why when I decided to put the album out, I went to Tamworth, and I haven't been to Tamworth since I was in my early 20s. And in my early 20s, I'd been playing music 3 nights a week since I was 16. But I went to Tamworth. I've always been pretty realistic about my own abilities and things, and I just didn't think I was good enough to crack it. And I didn't want to throw effort after foolishness for the next couple of decades. So I didn't chase the industry stuff. I was just happy to work 3 or 4 nights a week at bars and get paid, try and pay the farm off and all those sort of things. And when I decided to give the industry a crack, because I was better placed to fail if that happened, I went up there and I watched the Al Tompkins showcase when I was up there with a mate, and I said, I'll be playing this in 2 years. And he said, turn it up. I said, I'll be on that stage in 2 years. And of course, you got to buy an Al Tompkins guitar to be a chance. So I did that. And I cut my teeth with Al. He tested me out with some lesser sort of gigs. And then I got the good ones, you know. He invited me to Sydney, invited me to Tamworth. And 2 years later, I played at his showcase. I'm not sure I went down particularly well. I came on after Chad Morgan. You just cannot come on after Chad Morgan. Get a laugh.
True.
But what are you going to do? But anyway, I did it, and I that was one of my goals. But leading up to that Tamworth appearance, Al had a showcase in Sydney, and I flew up to do 2 songs. So I got a standing ovation, ended up doing 3. And I was having a great time, and I do like a drink too. So I didn't worry about booking a motel unit. I just figured I'll get on the sauce and just drink through till the sun up and get on a plane, come home. That'll save me some money, and I'll enjoy it. Anyway, these Greek blokes were watching me perform, and they just lost it over some of the riffs I was playing. And I think he's Andronicus, I think his name was, and a few other fellas, and they, it's purely stereotypical Greek accent. They're, oh my God, Danny, that was amazing. Like, come and have a drink with us. And I said, yeah, I'll drink with anyone. That'd be good, mate. So we went over to the bar, and about 5 of us ended up drinking till 3 a.m. And I thought, these fellas look like they're just winding up, like working their way through the gears, and I'm just about buggered. And I only had my hat and guitar there. I didn't have anything really that I was dragging around, and I wanted to peel away before I made a real mess of myself. I always say, if you can see the cliff, it's too late. You're already going over it, and I can lift. And I said, boys, I've had the best night. Thanks for your hospitality. I'll catch us later. But in my own mind, I thought, I'm going to go back to the bar at the airport, find a nice dark little corner somewhere, and just finish the night off with a few rums, and this is going to be great. I'll go home. Well, I didn't know the domestic airport closed overnight. So I've paid $50 to get a taxi back there, and I had to Google the directions for this bloke to find the Sydney airport, which is one of the lyrics. And I'm knocking on the door, and there's a janitor, a cleaner on the inside. I go, mate, let me in. I'm dying for a beer. And he's going, it's closed. What do you mean it's closed? You're killing me. I checked in my hat in international luggage and bought a ticket to Bali or somewhere just so I could go to the bar over there. I was as dry as a chip. And I needed a leak too. And there was nowhere to go for a week because there was cameras everywhere. It was concrete city. So I sat down there at about 4 o'clock in the morning. And there was this other fella just down the road who looked a bit shady. And I thought, I can't go to sleep. Someone's going to pinch my guitar. So I on how's it go? The 3 parts, you're at the title. How'd it go again?
It's the 3 parts Drunk 4 a.m. After Hours Domestic Terminal Blues.
It is, yeah. Well, it was. True story.
And I did have to read that title because it's a great title, but yes, I wanted to get it exactly correct. I'm interested in something you said about being better set up to fail at the time that you decided to embark on this journey, because it seems to me that you approach it in a very practical way. It's like, this is not chasing dreams so much as just methodically going through some steps. And if I happen to fail, that's okay. I've got this landing behind me. So I guess in another way, you chase lots of different dreams. You have all these different things you do, and they're all valuable to you. So music was not the be all and end all. It was one dream alongside, say, opal mining, having your farm, those sorts of things. Is that correct to say?
Yeah. Look, I think that's fairly accurate. It's life's about variety for me and new adventures and things, and I function that way with rewards. Like I don't know, a boys trip through the Simpson Desert that's coming up in 6 months, or an island trip I'm singing at, and I can take Caroline and the kids in 12 months. And I've always got these little things on the radar, and that's how I function and keep stepping forward. And you're right. I think I attack music fairly practically, and I'm fairly pragmatic with my approach to it. That, as I said before, I didn't want to throw effort after foolishness. It's always been very good to me, music, and it's paid the bills when farming didn't, through the years of drought. But I was working a lot harder at it then, 3 and 4 nights a week, 4-hour slot. Now we've got 45-minute sets at festivals, and it's great. And I can take Caroline and the kids to a lot of them, and I compete at some of them too. Some of the horse events too. So you can double down and take some horses there and have something to do through the day. But the industry stuff, I kind of feel sorry sometimes for kids that are coming through, that they've really got their hat hanging on this thing, and you can see when it doesn't happen overnight, they start to get heartbroken, and that's okay to have a dream and a goal, but it's pretty tough. This industry game is pretty tough, and I'll call a spade a shovel. Like people say, it's one big happy family. Well, it's a fairly dysfunctional one, because everybody says that there's plenty of room at the table, but the ones who are sitting at the table have got their elbows firmly out, I can tell you. Mm-hmm. And okay, because they worked hard to get there. And if that's their bread and butter, that's okay that they're protecting it. I've got no problem with that. So if you want this dream, you've got to bloody work for it, and you've got to keep knocking doors. And it's very easy, even for me as a middle-aged man, to feel that they're all against you. They don't want you to be. But you just don't take it personally, because everybody's on their own little journey, and nobody's really got it together. Not even the A-graders. They're all just pushing through too, and trying to look for the next accolade and the next bit of success, because nothing comes free.
That's very true. Now, you mentioned that to write the Halfway Hotel, you had a mate come to basically get you to sit down because you didn't have a lot of time to sit down. On the album, you have quite a few songs, and they're all really well-developed songs. So clearly, when you were writing that album, at some point you had sat down and committed to some songwriting. And they didn't sound like the songs of a beginner either. So I'm wondering at what point you started writing songs in order to work your way up to the songs that you eventually committed to recording.
I never rated myself as a great songwriter, but I've always had ideas, and I've got so much life experience, I feel, like I lived in America in my early 20s, breaking in horses, taking trail rides to the Rocky Mountains, and just all the other stuff that I've been lucky enough to do and chase. It doesn't just fall in your lap. You've got to make things happen. I've always felt like I should have a lot of things to draw on to be able to write about, but I always get frustrated that I could never sit still long enough to do it. And a bloke said to me once, he said, "Danny, just put pen to paper." He said, "You might end up with 100 songs and one's going to be a cracker." Mm-hmm. I remember thinking on that album, well, I hope my strike rate's a bit better than his, because I've only written 11 and they're all on the album. So I just had to double down, and actually force myself to. I think everybody's got their iPhone full of ideas and titles and rough lyrics and stuff. It's quite hard to make it happen, but pressure makes diamonds. I think a lot of the songs I hadn't quite finished on the way to record them to the coast, but that bit of added pressure for that 5 or 6 hour drive was, I've got to get this out, and Little Man was one of them. I wrote the third verse on the way to record it. I had the first and second verse, and that was a song I'd worked on for years. We got caught in the drought in 2006 pretty badly and nearly went under. And after that drought, I sat on a trencher for 2 months, and I put in 8.5 kilometres of new water line and a water trough in every single paddock. Mm-hmm. And I big squares of silage. And I protected myself for probably a year, maybe 2, if we hit a bad drought again. And my young bloke was coming around with me in those days, and he was only 2. And he just wanted to be with me everywhere, but he'd always be asleep by the first gate. And I always remember at him thinking, God, I wish I could sleep that soundly. You know, like my night times were just staring at the ceiling, doing sums about when the next cattle sale was coming in and we're going to make interest and all those sort of things. So that song took years to write. And the third verse came out driving 6 hours to go and record it because I had to have it finished. And I put myself under pressure like that. That's how I manage myself a little bit. Because I can float from different things. And if I know I'm going to box myself in, I'll know I'll come up with something at the end of it because I have to, you know. And the other thing is too is I did a bit of co-writing with Matt Scullion. So boys that I play with now are Steve Ford's boys. And the connection there was Dave, the drummer, is a family friend. His older brother is my stock agent, and I'm mates with his dad. And so when they came back to Australia, the boys started backing me, and they had reach of people who could write and people I didn't know. So Dave put me in touch with Matt, and we hit it off well. And we wrote 2 songs, Inches and What a Life. And that was interesting for me because I've always been the type of songwriter that I can only really write about things that I'm feeling acutely emotional about at the time, whether it be sadness or joy or whatever else. Whereas Matt attacks it very much like a business. He bundies on at 9 o'clock and he really nuts it out, you know. And I'd be like, oh, mate, I just can't think of the right line of the word. Do you want to go and do something or grab a beer? No, we've got to finish this, you know. Like he just works very hard at it. And his head is going all the time with it, but he's very practical and he treats it like a job. And that was interesting to watch him write and sit there with him. And it makes me try a lot harder too, whereas I might just drift and go and decide to do fencing because the songwriting's too hard. And say, no, he would nut this out. So sit down and do it.
It's arguable though that while you were going off and doing the fencing, the ideas in your brain sort of, rattling away.
Totally. And look, and totally, what you're saying is right. And I think now that I've had the album out and I think I'm doing a pretty good job with the songs that I'm coming up with now, I think I've got to recognise that that's the type of artist that I am. I've got to work harder at embracing those times. Feelings sort of hit me. And that song, I think we're going back over old ground now, but I always used to marvel at the Johnny Denver tale that he wrote Annie's song in about 15 minutes on a chairlift at some snowfield somewhere, maybe Aspen or somewhere. And I think Annie's song is one of the most beautiful songs ever written. I just don't know how you could summarise your love for someone or anything more beautifully than You Fill Up My Senses. I mean, it just summarised everything. And I thought, that bloke wrote that in 15 minutes. Bastard. And I struggle. And the Halfway Hotel, it's probably not as deep or any great work of literature like Annie's song is, but it came to me in about 15 minutes. It literally just poured out. And I think it was because Daz, my mate, was there. We didn't contribute anything to it other than he made me stop working. He said, I'm coming out with the guitar, we're going to have a beer. And we sat down there and he had the idea. He said, you should write it about your pub. Or not my pub, my bar here at home, which was built in 1884. It was quite it's a mud brick sort of derelict place that turned into a bar. And I started having all these, when I see Daz, I start thinking about religion, and I love a good, healthy religious debate, and I'm always respectful with it because I don't care what you believe in as long as you're preaching love and not hate, like whatever blows you. Yeah. And but it always gets me thinking, you know, and when Daz is around me, and I thought, you know, it is a pretty cool little bar. It doesn't really matter where you're from. I've got a couple of Muslim mates who have been out there, you know, and they come out and we'll knock over a couple of sheep and I'll take them home, but we'll go to the bar for a little while first, and you know, and it's a pretty special little place. So that's how, and it just sort of poured out of me, and then it became a bit tongue in cheek. Then I was getting too deep, and I don't want to be too deep with the stuff I'm doing now. I think there's enough deep stuff, enough done me wrong songs and all that sort of thing. And I've got a couple coming up, but I just wanted it to be a song people could just enjoy and not have to think too hard about it. And I started to have a giggle that this little bar of mine is not too far out from a one-horse town, which is Walla Walla. And I thought, it's a one-horse town, and I thought, if you steal that horse to ride, well, retribution's 2 days behind at least, because they're all on foot now because I've got the horse, you know. And it just sort of, I don't know, I was just having a giggle to myself and it grew, but it poured out in about 15, 20 minutes.
Or maybe you'll trust yourself more in future to be able to write songs in a 15-minute time frame. Now, I saw
baby.
Now, I saw on your social media you have a few rodeos coming up that you're playing at, and you mentioned that some shows you go to, you can take your family and you play, and you could also, be at the rodeo or equivalent during the day. You surely must be the only performer, as in musical performer, who is doing both at those rodeos and shows.
No, Tom Curtin would be doing a lot of that stuff, I reckon. I reckon James Blundell in his day would have done a bit of that sort of stuff too. I think there's a few fellas around that are, still kicking the rails. I'll probably pat myself on the back now, but it was a really cool experience in my life. My son and I, when he was only 9, we won a Stockman's Challenge, which is basically I had to gallop down as fast as I could. Was it bareback? Yeah, bareback. Jump some reasonable sized jumps, open gates, do all these things, and you're racing blokes from the mountains. When you get down the end, throw the saddle on. I threw my young bloke up behind me, and everyone's got a double dink. Well, I decided to take my son. He was only 9, and we won it, and which was really cool because one fella, a mate of mine, had won it for 8 years in a row or something, and he just can ride. He's amazing. So for us to knock him off his perch, it was pretty cool. But then I realised that I was late for the sound check at the pub, which was the freak of that town, and I was playing that night. So I had to throw my young bloke off, had my blue ribbon and our little envelope with our money that we won, and I shot through, and I sat to gallop, about, 3 or 4 Ks into town, and jumped off my horse, tied it to a tree, ran and grabbed the guitar, did a sound check. I said, righto, boys, I'm going to take care of this horse, go and find my son. I'll see you in about an hour. And one bloke came over and he just looked at me and he goes, that was just effing cool. I thought, yeah, I reckon that was actually. That was a brief moment in time.
It was good time management as well. You got there, you got it done, and then you went back. Now, I've had you talking for a long time, so I am going to wrap it up there. But I will say that people can obviously go onto your social media to find out which rodeos and shows you're playing at. And you mentioned this tour through Queensland in August. So hopefully all those dates will be up soon. Yeah,
kick off with a Weeper Bull Ride there, August 19th, I think. And then we operate up there a bit and down to Great Keppel Island for Country on Keppel. But it'll be all up. Yeah.
Country on Keppel should be fabulous.
Oh, it's amazing. I think this will be my 4th maybe out there. We missed a couple or one through COVID. But who gets to go and play on a tropical island and take your family? And it's amazing. All that stuff will be up on the socials soon, and we'll promote the heck out of it. Fantastic. Well, Danny, it's been so interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you.